it's the Lady Kaylah here, so welcome to the Geekdom. Today I am just going to talk about The Hobbit because I just saw The Hobbit and I couldn't go to midnight, which sucked, but I just saw it, and it wasn't all that I was expecting it to be, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like, oh, don't go see it at all. I think it is worth seeing. I would say with friends, like especially friends that like know about The Hobbit, so you guys can have like a nice little discussion about it. If you don't know about The Hobbit, it might not be that discussion worthy. I don't know. I actually, since I never not knew The Hobbit, well, I guess there was a point in my life where I didn't know The Hobbit, but since I've read The Hobbit, I don't know what it's like for a person who never read The Hobbit. But I don't know. I felt like the setup was kind of odd to me because, like, you know, The Hobbit's one book, and since they split The Hobbit into 3 movies, they try to make this like the introductory movie, and obviously since The Hobbit's one book, there's no need for like a whole like chunk of it to be an introduction because books are just automatically set up that way where the intro blends with the plot, where it blends with the ending, that blends with everything else. So, yeah. So you could tell, like, it was definitely set up to be, like, introductory. Beside, you know, the dwarves going to get their home back, there's also this other, like, mini story with, you know, Thorin and that white orc that I can't remember in The Hobbit. And because I haven't read The Hobbit in a while, I can't say what was in the books and what wasn't, but I honestly can't remember that from the books. I don't know, there was a lot of aspects that I was looking for in The Hobbit, and I wanted that mystical, magical kind of feeling that I got in some parts, but I felt were lacking in others. And sometimes I think they like did it overboard with the silliness, which I don't mind the silliness because I really think The Hobbit was, you know, geared towards children and has a very light tone to it. But then I thought it was overdone in some parts. I don't know. So I plan to do like a proper review later. This is just kind of like my reaction towards it at watching it first time, so it might change when I watch it a second time. And I will do a review when I watch it a second time so I can actually have a proper analysis of the movie. This is just kind of like my reaction to what I just saw. And I don't know, Bilbo set up the story with like, there was that whole part where like it shows you like the day of the party where is the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movie, which I didn't think was necessary. And then Bilbo tells the dwarves story, which I don't know, I didn't really like that. I probably would have rather had the dwarves tell the story. And then I'm trying to remember, and this is why I can't do a review right now because I can't remember everything. Everything needs to settle in. And you know, it wasn't bad. There were like moments where I felt what I wanted to feel, which was, I would say the goblin scene was probably when I felt it the most. In The Hobbit, I remember like the elves being very magical, and obviously they are very magical, but like the land when they're in Rivendell and, you know, they have everything set up and their stay there at Rivendell in the books was so magical as compared to the movies version, which I didn't feel the magic as much. They decided to reserve that portion for some foreshadowing, obviously the necromancer, and kind of like, it was basically that whole scene was like a Beowulf foreshadow. And then we see Saruman, and they do what I wanted them to do in Lord of the Rings, where he he kind of, you see him play with words, and it wasn't to the extent that I would have liked, but you can kind of see him play with words, but you can also see that they were setting up his downfall for the future, which was mostly he thought he was better than everyone else, which is definitely shown when he decides to don the robe of many colors, which they don't show in Lord of the Rings. And if they show it in The Hobbit, I'm sorry I spoiled you, but I'm not quite sure they're going to do that. So, yeah, but they kind of show you that that's probably like Saruman's fatal flaw was he thinks he's better than everyone else, but you also saw him play with words to kind of like shift the, like everyone's worried about, oh, this is happening, and he's shifting it towards like, oh no, it's just some guy playing with magic. And so that's what I wanted to see from him, like kind of playing with words, and he's very good at it. And the Gollum scene, it was just like I imagined in the books. Obviously a little bit dragged out. I don't think Tolkien took the time to show them, like, think about the answer to the riddle. You know, just a little bit, but the movies kind of dragged that on a bit. Probably because, you know, Gollum's one of the main characters in Lord of the Rings, so they wanted to elongate that time with Gollum because it's a familiar character for people who've watched the Lord of the Rings movie who might not have read the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit. So I can kind of see why they did that. So I definitely see that they are capable of capturing some of the magical aspects that I really, really wanted. Very playful as well, which I like. I just think that they were definitely making it an introductory kind of a movie, so they didn't, they just had to like kind of tune it into like oh, this is an introduction, this is like a setup, while trying to put some of the adventures from The Hobbit in it. So I definitely have hope for the future movies, but I wasn't as impressed as I thought I would be with The Hobbit. It's not bad, it's just I had higher hopes for it and it didn't meet those hopes, if that makes any sense. So that was, you know, my fault for having such expectations for it. But again, I have expectations set high for the future too. I can't wait to see other magical aspects that they might have, and I have a feeling they're going to spend a lot of time on Smaug. So that's probably going to be like the third movie is going to be like all about Smaug. And even this movie ended with Smaug, which is good. I like how they tie it back into like there's a bigger picture here, or there's a main plot here. And I also wanted to note, like, I love how they brought back a lot of like the lore that's like very crucial to like Middle Earth, like the little animosity between the dwarves and the elves, and kind of like why they hate each other. I thought that was really cool. And the elf, there's the two elves that do elves, like the way I just like I picture elves is Galadriel and I forget his name, the elf king, you know, the woodland elf king, not the high elf king, not Elrond. Because elves, you know, are not human. They look human as opposed to, you know, dwarves and hobbits. But they're not human, and I actually don't think they should look human. I think they should look like otherworldly. And at least with Galadriel and that Elf King, they had that not human aspect about them. Like, they don't act like regular humans. Elrond acts like a human. But Galadriel and that Elf King, even though he, like, doesn't even get that many lines, he has this, like, he's not human, like, look about him, and so does Galadriel. So I really like that, and I wanted to note that, because that's how I picture elves. Like, I don't want to think of them, like, as, oh, mystical human beings. I want to think of them as, like, a race of their own. So I don't know why I have to tell you that, but it's just something that I thought was important. So I can't wait to see him again in the future, because I know he plays a nice little part. And more to Bjorn, because they have to capture it. Like, I felt it also when the dwarves were like singing their little song and cleaning up the dishes. Like, it was like fun, and I liked that. That's what reminded me of the Hobbit that I read. And so I'm hoping to read a little bit of the Hobbit, the book, and rewatch the movie before I do a proper review. Also, if you guys have any questions that you want me to answer in my review, or perhaps just in a separate video of its own about The Hobbit that I didn't answer in this video, just ask them in the ask them in the comments below, and I will try to answer them in my next Hobbit video. Just if you want to know my opinion on anything or discuss anything, there's the comment box down below. Also, in the description bar is my Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, other ways to contact me. There's a lot of them, so check that out if you want to contact me outside of YouTube. I think that's all I have to say about The Hobbit. Remember, this is just initial reactions, nothing's for sure. This is just me talking about what I just watched. So thank you for your time. Bye.